my name is Faiza. I'm an intern in the Office of International Studies Abroad, and today we'll be interviewing Spencer Pitts, who went to Tokyo for Intersession. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, perfect. So you can introduce yourself by telling us your full name, the year you graduated from USD, and a little bit about what you're doing post-graduation.
Yeah, so my name is Spencer Pitts. I graduated in May of 2020, the first time of graduation virtually. Hopefully, it seems like it's going to be the first of maybe two or three. So I was lucky enough to have gone to Japan for Intersession, and I actually had the opportunity to do SYE. I went to Auckland and I studied abroad for a semester in London. So I've had plenty of opportunities to study abroad at USD. And what were some of the other questions you wanted to know? Post-grad stuff?
Yes, so like a little bit about what you're doing post-graduation.
Yeah, so right now I'm working as in public accounting, and that pretty much is entailing like a full-time position. I'm actually currently living in San Francisco. My girlfriend and I just moved here, and things are going relatively well for COVID, as I was kind of talking about earlier. And all in all, things are going well. I think, yeah, I think things are looking up and things are looking positive. So, yeah.
Wonderful. That's a great perspective. Now, going into your time in Japan, which class did you take while studying in Tokyo, and how did it sort of form your experience in Japan?
So I got to take the business economics of Asia. So um, Professor Jin actually gave us like a full overview of business in Asia in general, which I thought to be very fascinating because of the way that a lot of the times the economy is in relation to our culture. And one of the, just for example, a cool takeaway is just like the nature of um, conglomerates and like the way businesses are formed in Asia, that they're more familial and they're more, and a lot of the relations exist like end to end, like horizontally, rather than like US, you kind of specialize. So I think we get to see a lot of cool, got to go to a logistics company, and it's kind of like essentially like an Amazon or packaging facility, which was incredible to see. So I think having that perspective and that background with relation to, being able to go around and see the sites and like see kind of just like the culture in action, as well as like having like the business like acumen background, was really fascinating to see it play out.
Okay, cool. And what are some things that you were prepared for and some things that you weren't prepared for going to Japan?
I think I was like mentally prepared for, I think the food and like just kind of like that kind of expectation. And I was expecting it to be like really busy. I think that's like the main thing. I didn't really know like what Tokyo was like in terms of like, it is like one of the most densely populated places in the world. And I didn't really know what that meant until I got there. Like I expected densely populated, but I think when I like actually got there and realized how populated it was, that was a very interesting experience. Something unexpected though, also in relation to that, was like I'm kind of a taller person, so I think like going there, it was almost like a different experience. Like seeing, like I could literally just like see, I was in a different height there, like because not a lot of people are as tall, and it was just interesting to think like I I could kind of like get a good visual of how many people were and everything like that. Um, yeah, and I think also something about going abroad that also was interesting is like the way that public transport kind of gets you around and whatnot, and how efficient it is, and how everyone moves around, and it's kind of just like one big like organism in a way, like all interconnected.
Oh, great. Those are really awesome responses. Um, so next is, what was unique about your experience that you wouldn't have experienced in another program? You kind of started talking about that, but is there anything else that you want to discuss too?
Unique to Tokyo and Japan in specific, I think in relation just to like, it's like it feels like there's endless like places to be in Tokyo, and I feel like they have a very diverse um like city area. I don't really know how to explain it that well, but there are just areas of Tokyo where, there is this really strong blend of like really deep historical influences as well as really modern ones, and I don't think you can really get that in many other cities. Where like, like the architecture I always thought was very interesting to see was like how they blend together very, very traditional Eastern influences with a lot of like Japan and Tokyo in specific is very modern, which I thought was really unique to them. And that's also reflected in the things you can do. Like you can go to like a lot of people go to like the robot cafe, and then you can also go to like all kinds of crazy old historical shrines that are really beautiful.
Okay, cool. Are there any specific locations that you went to in Tokyo that just had you blown away or just certain ones that you visited a lot?
Yeah, I think my favorite was a little section. It's kind of like I'm trying to like remember all the names because it's very hard to remember all the train stops. And like I think it's like we were in Nishi Shinjuku, and then there's this place called Golden Guy, which was like one of our favorite spots to go. Like um, go out, and like the lights were beautiful, and it was kind of like once again it was a very historical and quaint part of like a really hustling and busy city, which I thought was very appealing.
That's wonderful. So obviously you went on quite a few study abroad experiences with USD. How has your short-term study abroad experience influenced your life post-graduation?
Um, yeah, I think I look upon like most fondly my short-term exchanges. I think that's kind of what I was talking about, and it's specifically just like I think there's a certain like hustle when you're going for like the short-term exchanges, and you're like dive right into a culture and you go as much as you can as fast as you can, and like you kind of get into it, and it's like a short but like very sweet, like a very meaningful dose of like culture and like getting involved with it. um and I think it's really important for like, I mean, I personally am more comfortable with going abroad after, especially with all these things and like being in different cultures. But for those who are like slightly less comfortable, like some of my friends who got to go join on the SYE trip, they may not be as comfortable as going abroad. But this is definitely like it's it's a very realistic look at it, but it's also not that as intimidating, right? So I think that's probably what the most valuable part of those exchanges are.
Great. And finally, if you could tell yourself one thing before you studied abroad that you learned after your trip, what would you tell yourself?
Um, I think for me, like I wouldn't want to change anything about it. However, like I think in some sense, maybe like just be a little bit more strategic and plan. I mean, sometimes I felt like maybe not that, maybe even the opposite of that. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because I love how my trip played out, but sometimes like my favorite moments were the ones that just like kind of happened. And my like our group of friends or something would plan a trip, or we'd go on an excursion or an expedition where we didn't really know like what exactly we were going to go do. We just wanted to go experience something, and we just kind of made that up. So in some ways plan, but also plan for things to be unplanned and like be okay with that. And I think relish those times because those are probably the most fond memories that you have when studying abroad.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for those really helpful responses. Is there anything else that you'd want to say to any students who are watching this video in the future? Or
Um,
if not,
I
that's
don't,
okay too.
I don't think anything in particular. I think just having, I mean, just the other cliches, have an open mind and just, um, honestly, if you're on the fence, I think the best thing to do is just go for it. And like, if you're on the fence of studying abroad, for me personally, like it was probably like my most favorite fond memories. So not really much else to say there.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for everyone who's watching this video. We're here in the office if you have any questions. And yeah, thank you. Bye.